Vaishali, could you please explain and describe the struggles and topics around coal production, lignite production in India that you are involved in?
The coal in India, the anti-coal movement in India is basically in two sections. One is wherever there are coal mines, and then people are opposing it, resisting it, and also becoming the very serious victims of these coal mines. And that's the whole resistance movement which is there present in India, and especially where there are coal mines like in Jharkhand and Orissa state. Well as in the whole of the coastal belt of India, there are projects, and that's another issue. The energy production based on it. And with regard to this, the area from where I am coming from is known as the Konkan region of Maharashtra state. This Konkan is also known as the California of India. Konkan is known as the California of India because of its biodiversity. It's known to be the 8th biodiversity hotspot in the world. And in the same region, you have in one side the ranges of Western Ghat, which is biodiversity very fragile Western Ghats mountains. And parallel to that is Arabian Sea, and it's a narrow strip of the region which is there. And in that region we have 71 mining lease sanctions, another 19 power projects in a pipeline, and out of that almost 14 projects are based on coal. And altogether, if you total the proposed power projects is coming to up to the 55,000 megawatt. It's in the narrow strip of 400 kilometers. And the largest, not even the largest proposed power project of my region, not only largest in Maharashtra state, not only proposed largest project in India, but perhaps the largest proposed nuclear power station is proposed in the same area, that's in Ecapio, where there are 9,900 megawatts nuclear power station is proposed of 6 Areva reactors from France. And this whole anti-coal movement in India is in the coastal belt, where the fisher folks are getting affected. Basically, all this thermal power station, because of its need of a huge quantity of water, is placed in the coastal region, and the fisher folks which are getting affected the most. And in India, we have the Land Acquisition Act, which has been framed during the British time, and now there has been a recent changes and the new act which has recently come. But the basic of this Land Acquisition Act is ultimately the state is an eminent domain of your land. So state decides which is a public purpose, which is a public interest. And state has decided coal, nuclear as a public interest. So on the name of public interest and public purpose, government can just grab your land, snatch your land, whether you want it or you don't. And government has got a right, legal right to do that. So there has been a number of resistance movements against the land acquisitions with regard to so-called developmental projects. And the whole question of now what the project affected people are asking, the question is, how can we say that such energy projects are developmental projects? How can we say the projects which are based on the coal, which does a lot of CO2 emissions, especially in India, in carbon emission, we are the second largest country in the world in the CO2 emission. And still, our Prime Minister doesn't say that climate change is a problem. He says publicly that climate change is not a problem. People need to change. We feel it's not got to do with the people. It's the whole developmental model which needs to be changed. So this whole movement, resistance movement against, whether it is against a mine, whether it is against a coal, whether it is against a nuclear power station, or whether it is like in my own district, Raigad says, whether it is against the special economic zone. What exactly people are struggling, what exactly people are asking for is the alternate development model. Because ultimately, this whole process of globalization we started from South, from the European countries and for the larger countries and so-called developed countries, has not really given us anything. This whole process of globalization, one section of Indian society has benefited that, and that's also mostly the upper middle class which has gained and which are in a minority. But rest of the Indian population, rest of the people, not only in India, but overall in the Southeast Asia, if you could see, it's the same thing. That there are some percentage of the people and population who are becoming more and more richer, and the majority of the population are becoming the resourceless. So we see in this whole developmental model, the land alienation is taking place. The small and marginalized farmers cannot afford to keep the land, agricultural land with them, because it's not becoming economic. And precisely for that, you have so many thousands and thousands of the farmers who have committed suicide in my state.
Okay.
It's just because they were in debt, because the economy is not working, this structure is not working, this developmental model is not working, and this is not what we want. So when we are fighting against coal, when we are fighting against mine, when we are fighting against nuclear, actually we are fighting against this so-called development. And this is what I'm here for the Degrowth Conference Summit.
At the moment we are at the Degrowth Summer School and discussing a lot about in how far degrowth is a solution for the development in countries of the global north. How do you see the connection between the degrowth discussions in the global north and the development and post-development discussions of the global south?
Yeah, exactly. This whole process of globalization has not really benefited the Asian countries. It has been, if at all it has benefited in raising a certain GDP, it's only because of certain gross of income which has increased or which has become little more of the as a overall, as a model, economic policies and the developmental model, it has not really taken place. So this whole degrowth movement which has started and taking the real, what you say, taking up, like getting spread and being discussed and debated and all, it's extremely important for the Southeast Asia. Extremely important, because what takes place over here, we are impacted of that. And like in the anti-nuclear movement of Chaitanya, I'm the one who was always used to say that look at Germany, look at the state of Germany, that the Germany has decided to give away nuclear, phase out all nuclear power plants, and by 2025 the whole of Germany will shift into the renewable energy. And that was one of our points for the campaign, because this is what we heard of the government's policy in India. And in our anti-nuclear campaign, and as an energy activist, I had been propagating this. It was very shocking for me when I came over here, and especially into this mining area, where one side is a huge coal mine, and just up to that there are wind power mills, and these are like some sort of a winning projects of such corporates. And I was also very shocked to see, although Germany as a state is phasing out nuclear energy, but has not stopped processing the yellow cakes, have not stopped processing the raw materials which has to be supplied for other nuclear plants in other countries. So how can you say that you are really phasing out nuclear energy here? I have my own doubts. I have my own criticism about it, and I have my own question and challenge about it. That is one part of it. Second part, what I've seen also with regard to the coal, I was very happy to know that Germany is going to phase out energy projects also in order to shift to the totally renewables. But then what happens with this such a huge and big mines? What happens with this abundant villages? So many villages which are abundant. And what happens with the whole plan of the future of expansion of the mine? And these are the same corporate, same mines and same material which would be exported in other countries like India, in Southeast Asia. Why? We are not human beings? Do you think we like fly ash? Do you think that we love and invite the CO2 emission? Do you think, which is not good, it's going to do any good to us? So this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction of the policies of the government. And this is what I would like to appeal here in this degrowth summer school and the climate change camp. That Now in the global economy, we cannot look at only a state policy as a separate policy. We have to totally look at our whole Southeast Asia's, Europe's and US, the developmental models, the policies, and ultimately change in the system is needed. And precisely for that, if I see in India, if I see in Ecuador, if I see in Southeast Asia, if I see in Malaysia, if I see in other parts of in Asiatic country, we see the whole struggle of indigenous people who have been staying on the mountain, who still have the sustainable livelihood, who still depend on the natural resources. All this indigenous community, the fisher folks, the tribals, the nomadics, their whole movement is to have the community rights on the natural resources. And I think that's the thing which is most important. That's the developmental model that we are asking for. The community's rights, the local community's rights, whether it is in Germany, whether it is in Malaysia, whether it is in Pakistan, whether it is in India, or whether it is the Rain Indians or the indigenous people of the US. But the rights of the local and the natural resources, so that they are totally in control of the natural resources, so that they manage their natural resources, so that they plan their natural resources, and so that the traditional livelihood which they want to preserve and manage and live on, they have a freedom to do that. And today's economic model doesn't allow them to do that. Today's developmental model is not allowing us to breathe. Today's all the policies are really governed by more of the corporate's interests than the citizens' interest. And this is how I feel that altogether as a global level, as a global community, we need to think about the new global people-oriented and people-centered development.